Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei become a dragon god of Leviathan part 4. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video and also share this video with your friends. I have created my other videos playlist, there you can watch my all videos easily, check out as well. Let's start this video. It hurts. Shouted Donnie in pain as his wounds were being treated by Marion. Shut up and stop whining. It's your fault for accepting IsseixKaterea-sama's challenge. Stated Marion as she wiped a piece of cloth with alcohol covering it on his wounds, getting him to flinch in pain. How was I supposed to know that she was that strong? You should have warned me. Argued Donnie in annoyance. Marion's eyebrow twitched in annoyance at his complaints. Just please shut up. Requested Marion as she once again wiped the cloth on his wounds. I mean seriously, I'm the new guy here. And Marion simply poured a bunch of alcohol on his wounds and boy did it shut him up. So, how are your wounds? Asked IsseixKaterea as she visited the man she wounded pretty badly. Gee good. Answered Donnie hesitantly before he held his right arm in pain. Hey, where is Issei? He's still not back. Asked Donnie curiously. Oh, he must still be at school I think. Replied IsseixKaterea, getting some weird feeling that her brother isn't actually at school. Unknown hotel, European territories. Eleonora Voltaria was currently in her HQ, she had just finished a meeting with her human superiors. Eleonora hates having to come to this HQ, not because she has to hide her presence, but because of her many rivals that are present in the HQ as well. Well, if it isn't one of the war maidens, Eleonora-chan. Greeted a very curvy female with matching dark reddish violet hair and crimson eyes. Scarlet Lancer, it's been a while. Greeted Eleonora with a forced smile and an annoyed face. So how have you been doing? Find a suitor yet? Asked Scarlet with an all-knowing grin. It's none of your business, which? Snapped Eleonora, amusing the other female with the crimson red spear. Well, you're right about that. It is none of my business prying into your personal life, though I certainly have the authority to do so. Informed Scarlet as she headed towards the opposite direction of Eleonora. What a troublesome woman. Thought Eleonora with an annoyed face. I have absorbed enough spiritual mana from her. This should be a sufficient amount for finding out who you truly care for, Elin-chan. And when I find whoever this person may be, I'll take them away, as you did my pupil. Though Scarlet walked away from Eleonora. The two women once had a good relationship, they would help each other out in missions. And they would hang out like friends, that was until there was an incident concerning Eleonora and one of Scarlet's pupils. And yes, Scarlet is a teacher. The good one too, she was known as one of the best teachers in the supernatural world and also one of the strongest warriors within the organization that she and Eleonora worked for. She cared for her pupils like a mother, taught her pupils like a mother. So it was only natural that Scarlet would begin to despise Eleonora after she had accidentally ended the life of one of Scarlet's pupils during a raid. Scarlet was currently in her own chambers, seemingly meditating. But she was actually going through the long history and memories which belonged to the one and only Eleonora Voltaria. While Scarlet certainly far higher with her spear, she was no amateur when it came to cerebral magic. But she wasn't going through the memories of Eleonora Voltaria for the giggles, she had a goal in mind. The goal to find out who she loved the most and take them away. Preferably by killing them. Judging from what I've found so far, her most loved one could be this boy named Tiger, but this love feels incomplete. Thought Scarlet as she continued searching for Eleonora's memories. While it was difficult, she was certainly noticing a pattern in Eleonora's thoughts and memories. This brown-haired boy, he appears quite often, but her memories seem to deny any further relationship beyond friendship, judging from their interactions, thought Scarlet as she investigated the boy who appeared quite often in Eleonora's memories of childhood. Until Scarlet found something which amused her and pretty much confirmed who Eleonora loved the most. Is she? What a sly girl, she's actually tossing one off for the boy. Though Scarlet laughed within her own mind as she found the key evidence for finding out who Eleonora Voltaria loved the most, she could confirm it was a boy named Issei Hyoudou. A few moments later, Scarlet had stopped going through Eleonora Voltaria's memories and decided to go and look for the boy named Issei Hyoudou. Many would find it difficult to find a random devil in the massive world, but she would find him eventually. It also seemed that Eleonora doesn't know that the boy is actually still alive. Scarlet knew that much for now. That was easier than expected, it simply shows how predictable you are, Elin-chan. Scarlet told nobody in particular. Flashback, a massive fire spread throughout a local village in London. The war maiden, Eleonora Voltaria and the true master of Gaybolg, Scarlet Lancer, were sent to intercept whatever caused the flames to spread. What they found however was a massive golem wreaking havoc among the villagers. Eleonora. Distracted while I prepare to strike it down. Ordered Scarlet as she leaped down from the watchtower they were on. Eleonora nodded and leaped towards the sky, unleashing a ball of wind towards the golem, effectively gaining its attention. The golem roared and began attacking Eleonora with its massive arms. Eleonora narrowly blocked a hit with her sword and shouted as she pushed the golem back. Eleonora jumped on a small house in hopes of gaining new ground, but the golem quickly destroyed the house she was on with its hand. Eleonora was currently in the air looking for a good spot to land on, but the golem had her on its sights and was about to strike. Until a crimson light could be seen rapidly approaching, the golem stared at it in awe as its hands began to open slightly, which would be a grave mistake for its part. The crimson light zoomed past Eleonora and impaled the left arm of the golem. The crimson light died down and revealed Scarlet with two red spears in her hands, both impaling the golem. The golem tried to squash her with its right arm, but Scarlet jumped pretty high in the sky. She simply stared at the beast with cold crimson eyes and whispered, "Hey bold." She threw the crimson spear at the golem as she said this, and it easily broke Mach speeds. The spear was like a meteor fast approaching the earth if seen from a further distance. With the meteor being Bolg and the earth being the golem which was currently in heaps of trouble. The spear penetrated through the arm that the golem tried to use to block it with and quickly caused a massive explosion within the golem. The massive beast had most of its body disintegrated, with nothing but half of its body and its right arm intact. Soon, the beast fell on the ground. Scarlet smirked at her victory and landed on the ground right behind Eleonora, who enjoyed the show. "How'd you like it?" asked Scarlet curiously. "It was pretty good, although I could have done the same if I really wanted to," reply Eleonora with a slightly doubtful look. Scarlet simply giggled at her friend's pride, but soon her eyes widened as the golem, which she presumed was dead, raised its arm in an attempt to squash Eleonora. "Elin-chan. Watch out," warned Scarlet as she prepared her spear. Eleonora narrowed her eyes as she charged at the arm with her sword, which was swirling with power. Scarlet contemplated assisting, but she thought that Eleonora might have wanted to finish it off. Until she saw a figure leaping towards the golem from behind. "What? Who is that?" Though Scarlet was confused and worried, she narrowed her eyes to try and get a better look, only for them to widen in shock at the revelation. Kusan. Though Scarlet was shocked at seeing her pupil leaping towards danger. "Eleonora. Stop," shouted Scarlet as she started heading towards the golem's direction. Eleonora did not listen and used her sword to smash the golem's arm and disassemble the rest of its body. Due to the power she placed into her attack, she went past her intended target and was shocked to see that a man was about to become victim to her sword. Eleonora tried to swing her sword away, but it was too late as the sword penetrated the man and cut his lower body off. A violent display, even for a devil such as Eleonora. Scarlet looked at her pupil in horror as the look on his face broke her heart. Her pupil's name was Ku, a fine young man with blue hair. Scarlet and Ku had the best relationship out of all of Scarlet's pupils. Ku even introduced her to his parents. Seeing her favorite pupil and beloved fall to the hands of one of her own friends simply was too much for her to handle. "Ku-san," shouted Scarlet as she landed right beside her pupil. Sorry about that, sensei. I guess I really haven't learned anything at all," apologized to Ku as he was still barely alive. "Ku, stay with me. We'll find a way to fix you," tried to reassure Scarlet, but Ku wasn't that dumb. "Ahahaha. I don't think there's a way to reattach an entire lower body," Sensei laughed Ku, as his teacher's attempts at giving him hope were humorous to him. Scarlet had tears streaming down her face, she could not find any words to say. But Ku was different, he had one more sentence to utter before death came to take him. Ku caressed his teacher's left cheek with his right hand, Scarlet's eyes widened, and she soon blushed. "I love you, Skathich," whispered Ku as he closed his eyes and passed away. Scarlet cried even more after this, and she rested her face on Ku's lifeless chest. She could no longer hear his heartbeat. "I love you too," Ku said Scarlet in her thoughts as she simply cried in her former lover's chest. "I am sorry," Scarlet apologized to Eleonora, slightly guilty. But she couldn't really expect a man with blue hair suddenly flying towards her sword after she finished off the golem. "You shut your mouth," snapped Scarlet with eyes filled with anger. Eleonora could only look at her friend with guilt in her eyes. This event marked the end of her friendship with Scarlet Lancer. Flashback end, the cult research club. Issei was currently leaning on a wall, listening to the conversation between Ria's Gremory and two exorcists. Apparently there is a problem with the church concerning Excalibur, a legendary holy sword. "And so what exactly do you want from us?" asked Rias curiously. "Stay completely out of it, we don't need any interference from any devils," replied the blue-haired exorcist with a tint of green. "Are you afraid that we might side with the fallen angels?" suggested Rias. "The church doesn't believe it's impossible. For a devil, a holy sword is toxic, so wouldn't it be logical to assume that you would try and destroy the Excalibur?" stated the exorcist with a smirk. Ria's aura suddenly flared up, it was clear she was offended. "Listen clearly because I'm only saying it once. I will never side with the fallen angels, and I will never disgrace my family's royal name," informed Rias with a smirk of pride. The exorcist smirked as well after hearing the sentence. "That's enough for me, I honestly didn't think the little sister of Lucifer would be so stupid." said the exorcist smirking. Good to know. Said Rhea smirking as well. The two exorcists then stood up from their seats. We shall be taking our leave then. Said the exorcist as she and her companion headed for the door. Would you like some tea before you go? Offered Rhea's. No thanks, we didn't come here to make friends with devils. Replied the exorcist. Issei looked at the two exorcists with disinterested eyes, he measured them up and he had to be honest, he was disappointed. Especially since one of them could wield such a powerful sword equaling even his Ascalon. Aren't you Issei Argento? Asked the exorcist with disappointed eyes. Yes. Replied Issei, surprised she was called. I had thought that we would find you by visiting this town, it's only natural a witch would hoard up with devils. Insulted the exorcist. Issei's eyes widened and she looked down in shame. Tell me, do you still believe in our god? Asked the exorcist, shocking Issei once again. Zenobia, don't be silly, she's a devil now, of course she doesn't believe in God anymore. Interrupted the brown-haired exorcist. No, I can still smell the belief in her. Tell me, do you still believe in God? Asked the exorcist once again, now revealed as Zenobia. Why yes, even though I'm a devil now I could never stop believing, answered Issei with a slight blush. Is that so? If that is true then let me end your life right now. Said Zenobia, shocking Issei and the other devils in the room. This even caught the attention of Issei, who had grown amused by the exorcist named Zenobia. Alright. That's enough out of you, lady. Snapped Murayama angrily. Yeah. How dare you try to offer sweet Issei such a horrible thing? Mimicked Cadis. She has been outcast by the church, if she still believes in God after becoming a devil, then she must allow us to sacrifice her if she desires forgiveness. Stated Zenobia as she glared at the two devils. We don't care about your beliefs. Why would God spread such utter nonsense? Asking Issei to end her life as Jew, argued Cadis, before being interrupted by the most powerful being in this room. I think that's enough, Cadis. Said Issei as he walked towards Zenobia. Zenobia turned to look at the devil who had been silent this entire time, until now. Issei had gotten right in front of Zenobia and started sizing her up, he looked at her starting from the feet up to her face. Zenobia stared at the devil with no fear at all. Who exactly are you? Asked Zenobia curiously. Issei stared at Zenobia, eye to eye. But Zenobia didn't flinch, she replied by staring back at him. The staring contest lasted for a few moments, until Issei smirked and crossed his arms. Issei Hyoudou. Introduced Issei with a smirk. Zenobia narrowed her eyes, as if she recognized that name but couldn't figure it out. Now, I was going to keep quiet this whole time, but I'm afraid I can't allow devils to be sacrificed to God in this town. Stated Issei, glancing at Issei who blushed at his gaze. And why is that? Asked Zenobia smirking. It would be quite unruly to sacrifice a devil in a town which has been claimed by devils, no. So if you want to end Issei Argento's life, you'll have to get through me. Replied Issei as he let a very small amount of his aura leak out. You seem to have a decent amount of power, but I don't think that'll be enough to take me and Arena out. Said Zenobia confidently. Oh, she's underestimating me. Thought Issei as he then smirked. This is perfect, I will fight as well. Said Kiba who had just entered the room. Kiba. Blurted out Cadis and Murayama in shock. And who are you? Zenobia was slightly annoyed at the appearance of even more devils. Your superior. Replied Kiba. Alright. This is a friendly match, no killing. Announced Takeno as she had placed a barrier around the area. Alright, Arena. You fight the blonde devil, I'll fight that one. Said Zenobia as she pointed at Issei. Oh, but I wanted him. He's pretty cute, he'd make a good priest. Complained Arena as her name was revealed earlier. Stop complaining and get ready. Said Zenobia as she approached Issei Hyoudou. Let's begin, shall we? Suggested Zenobia as she grabbed her sword of destruction. Let's dance. Said Issei as he summoned a sword of his own, Pina. The sword was gifted to him by his sister. Akeno fired a small magic shot into the sky, signaling the start of the battle. Issei dashed forward and attempted to strike at Zenobia's hips, but she swung her massive sword at him, forcing him to leap backwards. Issei smirked as he dashed forward once again, but this time he would have the advantage as Zenobia was still recovering from that swing. Zenobia's eyes widened in shock as Issei was about to hit her with his sword, but she sidestepped and dodged the blow. Although she received a slight graze on her right shoulder. Zenobia jumped up and aimed to slam her sword of destruction on the ground so that Issei would lose his footing. But Issei suddenly appeared right behind her midair and smacked her into the ground, creating a crater. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, Kiba and Arena were clashing their swords. It seems Arena wielded Excalibur Mimic, but Kiba wouldn't fall short of speed, so it would be tough to try and hit him. Hey. Stop moving so much. Complained Arena as her every attempt at striking Kiba was dodged. Kiba appeared behind her and attempted to stab her with his demonic sword, but Irina was able to block and she was able to cut his left arm. Kiba shouted in pain and fell on the ground, grabbing his left arm as the cut was burning his skin. "Kiba, that's enough," said Riaz with her arms crossed. Kiba attempted to get up but couldn't, he then punched the ground in anger. "It's alright, you can try again next time. Zenobia should be done by now too," cheered up Irina as she then looked over to her partner's side and she was shocked to see Zenobia panting and relying on her sword of destruction to stand up properly. "How is she not done with him yet? And she seems to be losing," asked Irina as if she couldn't understand how Zenobia was losing. "Well, you and your partner could definitely give us a challenge, there aren't a lot of people who can challenge Issei over there," answered Akeno with a smile. Zenobia looked at Issei with hard eyes, she didn't expect him to be this strong. "Why, you're definitely stronger than I expected," Hyoudou-san complimented Zenobia panting. "Well, if you used Durandal you wouldn't be panting like this so quickly," said Issei with a smirk, shocking Zenobia. "Why, you mean you knew?" asked Zenobia surprised. "Yep, I could sense the Durandal in you from a mile away," replied Issei as he put his pen away. "This battle's over," stated Issei as he approached Zenobia and offered her a hand, which she hesitantly took. "Wow. You're really strong," complimented Irina from the other side. "Thanks, but I'm not much," said Issei modestly. "No, she's right. You're incredibly powerful, almost making me want to ask you for help," agreed Zenobia with a smile. "Who exactly are you up against anyway?" asked Riaz curiously as she approached Zenobia. "A man named Valper Galilei," replied Zenobia. Hearing this caused Kiba to tighten his fists and walk away from the area. "Kiba," called Riaz but he was not listening. "You're leaving one thing out, Zenobia," said Irina with a pout. Zenobia sighed and brushed her off. "What thing?" asked Akeno. "The other person we're dealing with is one of the fallen angel leaders, Kakabiel," answered Zenobia honestly, shocking all of the devils except Issei who merely smirked. "Kakabiel, are you planning to die?" asked Riaz in disbelief. "We are fully prepared for that, we wouldn't be exorcists if we feared joining our Holy Father in paradise," replied Irina confidently. "However, I would like to stay alive, if possible," added Zenobia. Issei approached Zenobia and gave her a piece of paper, confusing the exorcist. "What is this?" asked Zenobia curiously. "My address, if you ever need help with Kakabiel don't hesitate to ask," answered Issei before leaving the area as well. Riaz was slightly jealous that an exorcist was allowed to visit Issei's house before she was, but she let it go for now. "We should take our leave as well. We have some business to get to," said Zenobia as she gained a nod from Riaz and left the school premises with Irina trailing her. "We should help Kiba-senpai," whispered Caddis to Murayama who nodded in agreement. Riaz looked at her two pawns slightly worried that they might do something reckless, but she brushed the feeling off for now. The Hyoudou residence. Currently Donnie was sitting down on the table, drinking with some stranger who entered the house and said he was Issei's friend. Donnie reluctantly agreed because the stranger did bring a lot of sake and damn was Donnie up for some of that shit as he stated it. "So where's everyone else?" asked the man with golden bangs. "Everyone's either shopping or in another dimension, both of which I don't care about," replied Donnie as he gulped down another glass of sake. "Haha," laughed at the stranger. "You still haven't told me your name," informed Donnie as he raised an eyebrow at the stranger. "It's Azazel," said Azazel as he revealed his name to the half-vampire. "As in the fallen angel governor?" asked Donnie somewhat recognizing that name. Azazel gave him a thumbs up, surprising the hybrid. "Does a leader class just show up in this residence without notice frequently?" asked Donnie as he chuckled. "Heh, you'd be surprised. Hell, it wouldn't be out of the question to find the infinite dragon god lurking around here every now and then," replied Azazel as he too chuckled. Donnie gulped down another glass of sake, but this one tasted odd. This one tastes odd," muttered Donnie before falling unconscious. Azazel sighed soon before he smirked and put on his fallen angel attire. "Finally, it took way too damn long for that sleeping powder to take effect," Azazel said to himself as he approached Donnie's unconscious body and dragged him to his room. Azazel had put Donnie down on his bed and seemed to be looking for something in his pocket dimension. "Aha! There it is," cheered Azazel as he found the item he was looking for. As he closed his pocket dimension, he seemed to now be holding some kind of toy gun. Azazel examined the object and grinned evilly. The fallen angel governor aimed at Donnie and shot him with the toy gun. It didn't do anything to the hybrid, however it did radiate a purple aura for a few moments before dissipating. Azazel smirked and was about to return to Grigori until he received a call from Issei Hyoudou. "Azazel, I have some pretty interesting news for you," said Issei sounding excited. What is it?" asked Azazel curiously. "I just heard from some exorcists that a fallen angel leader is conspiring with a man named Valper Galilei to recreate Excalibur," informed Issei, getting Azazel to raise an eyebrow in suspicion. "Who?" Asked Azazel as he sighed. Cacabial. Answered Issei with a smirk. Of course it is. And let me guess you want me to give you permission to kill him. Predicted Azazel. You caught me. Said Issei as he laughed. You can go ahead and kick his ass, but don't kill him. I'd like to ask him a few questions, so bring him to me once you're done. Said Azazel strictly. Fine, but make sure Volley doesn't show up. Agreed Issei as he hung up. Azazel prepared a magic circle to return to the Grigori, but not before looking back at Donnie Thompson and smirking. Kuo Academy. Outside Kuo Academy stood a woman by the name of Scarlet Lancer. She had been successful in locating Issei Hyoudou. She was able to deduce that the devil studied here in this very same school. Since she knew that Eleonora had no idea that Issei was still alive, Scarlet decided she would make sure that the two would never reunite. And if they ever did, it would not be as Eleonora would anticipate. Scarlet simply smirked as she had been able to successfully enroll as a teacher for history class. She would get to know this devil who had dug its way into Eleonora's heart before striking him down. She had gone home for the night, excited for her first day of teaching. Even though her goal was to kill or eliminate Issei Hyoudou, she was an amazing teacher and enjoyed teaching those who needed education. Time skip, one day later, at the Hyoudou residence, the hybrid also known as Donnie Thompson was waking up. Oh, my head hurts. Thought Donnie as he stood up and clutched his head in slight pain. He most likely was having a headache due to the amount of sake he drank yesterday with Azazel. Ah, that's right. I drank with the governor of the fallen angels, thought Donnie as he entered his bathroom and washed his face. Donnie sighed as he wiped his wet face with a towel and looked at the mirror to try and fix his hair. But as he stared at the mirror, he could only utter a specific set of words. What the fuck? Shouted Donnie, shocked as he looked at the mirror, and it seemed that he wasn't a he, but a she. Donnie looked downwards and her eyes twitched as she now had breasts, at the very least D-cup size. How could this happen? Asked Donnie to no one in particular. Donnie also noticed that she now had the curves of a beautiful woman and a pretty face as well. She had become a full-blown woman of great beauty. All I did was drink a few bottles of sake and then this happened, shouted Donnie as she fell on her knees. Donnie's eyes then widened as she came to a realization. Wait, I passed out after drinking the sake that Azazel brought, and I'm sure I could have easily drunk a dozen more bottles, thought Donnie, coming on to something. And Azazel was known to experiment and create a bunch of weird stuff, added Donnie to her thoughts. Which means Azazel somehow turned me into a female. Shouted Donnie with her anger in her eyes. However, any further outbursts were interrupted as the sound of someone entering her room was heard. Donnie paled as she did not know how they would react to her becoming female. You said he was here, right? Asked Issei curiously. Yeah, I saw him resting here a few hours ago. Replied IsseixKaterea, scratching her head in confusion. Donnie gulped and decided to reveal herself. As she stepped out of the bathroom, she bowed her head down and faced Issei. Hi. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Issei-sama. Greeted Donnie with a rather mature but cute feminine voice. Who the hell are you? Asked IsseixKaterea with a psychotic expression on her face. Issei could only look at Donnie in great confusion. Are you Donnie Thompson? Asked Issei as he crossed his arms. Why yes, replied Donnie, blushing at the sound of Issei's manly voice. What the hell? I'm even developing a shy girl personality, though. Donnie was pissed off. Lies. Donnie Thompson is a male. Accused IsseixKaterea as she had multiple swords ready to fire at Donnie. Yes, if memory serves me right, I do remember Donnie being a male pilot. Added Issei, causing IsseixKaterea to fire one sword at Donnie. Donnie's eyes widened in shock, but she was able to quickly dodge the sword. Ni-chan, stop. I believe this is Donnie Thompson. Announced Issei, surprising both Donnie and IsseixKaterea. What? Uttered IsseixKaterea and Donnie simultaneously. Tell me, what exactly happened? Asked Issei curiously, causing Donnie to stand up properly. I don't really know myself, I just woke up earlier and found out that I now had the body of a female. Explained Donnie honestly. How is that even possible? Asked IsseixKaterea confused. I don't know myself. Said Donnie as she shrugged. I think I know how. Said Issei, gaining the attention of IsseixKaterea and Donnie. How? Asked Donnie curiously. Do you know of a fallen angel named Azazel? Questioned Issei. Why yes. I drank sake with him yesterday, but I suddenly passed out soon after. Answered Donnie. Maybe my suspicions were correct. Thought Donnie anxiously. Hahaha. Must have been him then. Well, no matter. I don't mind another female in the peerage. However, are you fine with having a female body, because we might not be able to reverse this? Asked Issei curiously. Donnie thought about it for a few minutes, but ultimately came to a decision. I'll stay in this body for a while. I kinda wanna try it out. If it doesn't work out, I'll ask Azazel to reverse this effect. Decided Donnie, earning a smile from Issei which made her blush. Damn it. Thought Donnie as her cheeks betrayed her and reddened. Alright then, now that that's done we can get back to our introduction. Said Issei as he extended his hand. I'm Issei Hyoudou, the Red Dragon Emperor. Nice to meet you Donnie Thompson. Greeted Issei as the boosted gear formed on his left hand. Boost. Donnie blushed at this but smiled happily, she gladly shook the hand of her master. Oh, and we'll probably need to get you a new set of clothes. Said Issei, confusing Donnie. But she soon noticed what he meant, as the shirt she was wearing gave a good view of her new breasts. Donnie blushed hard at this and ran to the bathroom flustered. Issei could only laugh. Guo Academy. Issei yawned as he waited in his classroom, the teacher had yet to arrive. Although, Issei was pretty early since he had to wake up early in the morning to greet his new pawn. The class was filled with chatter, that is until the door to the classroom was opened and everyone immediately shut up. However, the one who entered was not someone the class was familiar with. It was a beautiful woman with reddish-violet hair and crimson eyes, she was wearing the natural attire for the teachers in Guo Academy. The girls in the class were in awe at her beauty, while the boys were practically drooling except Issei. Is that gay Bolg? Thought Issei curiously as he sensed the powerful weapon within the new teacher. Greetings, I am Scarlet Lancer. Your new history teacher. Introduced Scarlet with a warm smile. But you can call me Shishu. Informed Scarlet. Shishu? Are you single? Asked a boy in the class a bit too anxiously. The girls were about to end the boy's life until another boy knocked him out from behind. My apologies, Shishu. Some of the boys here can't quite control their urges. Apologized to Issei Hyoudou, the one who knocked the overly perverted boy out. Scarlet couldn't help but blush, but she immediately got rid of it. He doesn't seem half bad thought Scarlet before shaking her head to get rid of such thoughts. Thank you, Hyoudou-san. You may take your seat. Said Scarlet, gaining a nod from Issei who sat down. Soon after the awkward situation, Scarlet had begun teaching. Time passed by as the lessons were taught and as Issei stared outside the window. Scarlet was slightly annoyed that Issei wasn't giving her his attention, but she ignored it, considering he had helped her out with the perverted student. After an hour had passed, the bell rang. Most of the female students rushed to Scarlet and began asking her questions. This simply made her giggle as she answered a few of the questions. She stopped for a moment though as she saw Issei Hyoudou exiting the room, but before she could call him she was flooded by more questions from the girls. She sighed as she decided she would pursue the devil later on. Murayama Pav. Geez, these two can eat a lot thought Murayama as she watched the two exorcists, Zenobia and Irina, devour the meals that she and Catus paid for. Kaneko and Saji were also here, even though Saji didn't really want to come help with this whole Excalibur deal. Hey you have those two now, can I go back now? Asked Saji as he tried to get out of his seat until Kaneko forced him back down. Oh come on. Whined Saji with teary eyes. Don't be such a pansy, Saji. You're a man aren't you? Asked Catus rhetorically. But you don't know what it's like when Sona gets mad. The only time she doesn't kick my ass when I do something that disturbs her is when that pretty boy Issei is there. Argued Saji trying to get out of Kaneko's grip. Hearing Issei's name mentioned brought a blush to Murayama and Catus' faces. They had a massive crush on him after all. Sit down. Said Kaneko with a monotone but threatening voice. Saji paled after hearing this and immediately sat down. Saji-kun, you're pretty close to Hyoudou-kun aren't you? Asked Irina curiously with food in her mouth. Well, I guess I see him quite often because he is assigned to guard Kaichu. But we don't really talk much answered Saji as he scratched his head. A shame, I wanted to learn more about him. He had quite the dominating and attracting aura, similar to that of God. Said Zenobia disappointed, although the devils received a slight headache due to the mention of God, but they controlled themselves. My bad, I almost forgot you were devils. Apologized Zenobia as she realized that she had inflicted a headache upon them. It's fine, but as payment for this we'd like to be able to help stop Kakabiel. Requested Catus desperately. Zenobia and Irina looked at each other before nodding. Very well, we shall let you assist. Agreed Zenobia, causing Catus and Murayama to smile happily. Saji only groaned in frustration, but he agreed to come anyway. Totally rad. Said Kaneko chewing on some gum. Guo Academy. Issei was currently eating his lunch with Sona and the rest of the student council, except Saji, who was slacking off as theorized by Sona Citri. As Issei was enjoying his tempura, however, his new teacher, Scarlet Lancer, also known as Shishu to the students, approached him. Hyoudou-san, may I speak to you for a minute? Asked Scarlet with a smile on her face. Sona and Tsubaki looked at the teacher suspiciously but allowed it. Issei nodded at them and followed Scarlet Lancer to a private area in the school grounds. So I take it you know that I am not just a normal teacher? Asked Scarlet curiously. What makes you think that, Shishu? Asked Issei, acting confused. Scarlet giggled as she turned to look at Issei Hyoudou. Goodness, he truly looks far more handsome than he did in those memories of Eleonora. And this aura reminds me of Kusan thought Scarlet as she looked at Issei with contemplated eyes. Shishu. called Issei as he tilted his head in confusion. Apologies, I was thinking about something. Apologized to Scarlet as she focused on Issei now. I am aware of the fact that you are a devil, and I am also aware that at this point you have sensed my legendary weapon, correct? Said Scarlet, amusing Issei as he crossed his arms. Yes, you are indeed correct, but I didn't expect you to confront me about it personally. Said Issei with a smile. Well, I am known to be unpredictable. Said Scarlet with a proud smirk. So, what is the owner of Gaybold doing here? Asked Issei curiously. I am here to investigate a private matter. Specifically concerning you, Hyoudou-san. Answered Scarlet honestly. What is it about me that needs investigation, Shishu? Asked Issei as he raised an eyebrow. That is personal, and I hope you do not pry any further. Replied Scarlet, dodging the question. I saw, muttered Issei as he held his chin. However, I can say I have already grown fond of you, Issei Hyoudou. You interest me very much, so I want to train you. Informed Scarlet with a loving smile, the very same one a true teacher would have. Issei blushed slightly at this and looked away for a moment. Even Drake was surprised, as only the most alluring women could cause his host to blush. This woman, I like her. Her color scheme isn't bad either. Complimenting Drake. Yeah, well, you have a bias considering you are the Red Dragon Emperor, said Issei in his thoughts. Doesn't matter, she is quite the beauty still. Perhaps you should take her up on her offer. Advised Drake, confusing Issei. What offer? Asked Issei confused. Are you seriously that dense? She said that you interested her so much that she desires to train you, and I can say from her aura alone that she could definitely teach you a thing or two about fighting. Answered Drake. I haven't been seriously trained by anyone since the original Leviathan. You think she can force me to be serious with training? Issei slightly doubted Scarlet's abilities. Give her the benefit of a doubt. Requested Drake. Issei thought about it for a second, but ultimately came to a decision. Shishu, if I train under you, will you take me seriously? Asked Issei seriously. Scarlet smiled and nodded. Of course, I care for my pupils greatly to the point I would risk my own life for them. Replied Scarlet sincerely. Then I accept your guidance, sensei. Said Issei as he bowed his head. Scarlet smirked as she had gained a new pupil, and perhaps her greatest. A few hours later, the Cult Research Club room. Ria's Gremory was currently going through a bunch of reports and contracts. It would appear that Caddis and Murayama were doing a great job with their contracts. Akeno, have you seen Caddis and Murayama? Asked Rias, gaining Akeno's attention. I'm afraid not, I haven't seen them at all today. Same goes for Kaneko. Replied Akeno honestly. I see, thank you for the information. Thanked Rias as she had an idea as to why they were gone. They've gone to help Kiba. Thought Rias as she got up and motioned for Akeno to follow her. Rias, where are you going? Asked Asya curiously. Oh, it's nowhere in Asya. You should head back home now, Asya. Replied Rias as she and Akeno disappeared in a magic circle. Asya tilted her head in confusion as they teleported away. Oh, I wonder what they're up to. Muttered Asya as she decided to head back home. Oh no, muttered Saji in fear as he watched two magic circles of opposite colors appear in the ground. Rias Gremory and Sona Citri had arrived. I see you are here as well, Sona. Greeted Rias with a knowing smile. Well, it is a master's duty to punish their servants when they do something irresponsible. Greeted Sona with a smile as well. Hearing this caused Saji to pale in fear. Caddis and Murayama also paled at this. It wasn't long before Sona started giving Saji his dose of 1000 spankings, magic enhanced at that. No form of pleading or convincing could stop Sona from giving Saji his due punishment. Saji had teary eyes as he started getting spanked. He looked over to the Gremory group to see that Rias was hugging her servants, rather than spanking them. What the hell? Why do I get spankings but they get love and hugs? Complained Saji loudly. That's them spank. This is us. Answered Sona as she continued spanking Saji's poor butt cheeks. I was so worried. Don't you ever do something like that ever again. Ordered Rias as she hugged her beloved servants. I'm so glad Rias is our master. Thought Caddis and Murayama simultaneously. Now kindly get on your knees. Ordered Rias with a loving smile. What, I thought you weren't going to punish us, blurted out Caddis, shocked. Now, that wouldn't be right. It is a master's duty to punish her servants should they do something irresponsible. Stated Rias as she prepared her hand. No wait. Please punish me in their place, I wanted to help Kiba as well so. Volunteered Kaneko, earning a smile from Rias. Wait, Kaneko-chan. Murayama was about to stop Kaneko until Rias put a hand up signaling for her to stop. Very well, you shall now receive your spankings. Said Rias and Kaneko braced herself. Murayama was about to protest again, but was surprised to see that Rias softly spanked Kaneko 2 times. There, you're finished. Stated Rias with a smile. Thank you, thanked Kaneko as she stood up and got beside Akeno. She may seem like she's going to be a harsh master at times, but she truly loves us all, thought Murayama with a smile. Now, Kaneko took 2 spankings for the both of you. You only have 499 spankings left each since there are 2 of you. Said Riaz as she prepared her hand once again. Murayama and Caddis looked in horror as Riaz was smiling wickedly with her magically enhanced hand, ready to do some spanking. Land of the Dead. Scarlet had brought Issei to the Land of the Dead, a place which was under the rule of Hades, but eventually was forced to let it go due to a conflict between Hades and Zeus. Issei was pretty surprised that his new sensei essentially lived in the Land of the Dead. May I ask if you own a spear? Asked Scarlet, who was now in a tight bodysuit, her natural battle wear. A spear? Ah, I see. You use gay bold, so it's natural that you are experienced with a spear, but I do not think that a spear would do well in my hands. I can ask my sister to conjure one up for me, but I doubt it'll do anything impressive, replied Issei. Shall I show that, if you reach the extremes of a spear blow, it is possible to kill even gods? Said Scarlet with a smirk similar to Issei's rival, Volley Lucifer. Seeing this told Issei that she had great warlust, and he didn't mind that. Alright, sensei, show me. Requested Issei with a curious smile. Scarlet grinned as she pointed towards the polluted-looking mountain on their right. Issei looked towards that direction. This was Scarlet's cue as she leaped upwards and aimed her spear at the mountain. One must focus directly on their target, blur everything else, but at the same time see everything aside from your target. Stated Scarlet as her spear began emitting impressive amounts of crimson energy. That doesn't really make sense, thought Issei as he scratched his head. Bolg. Announced Scarlet as she threw her crimson spear at the mountain. It wasn't long before the mountain was crumbling into pieces. Issei was looking at the mountain, and he was quite impressed. Scarlet landed on the ground and raised her right hand. A few seconds later the crimson spear returned to its master. Well, that was definitely not bad. Is it really capable of defeating deities? Asked Issei slightly doubtfully. Scarlet frowned after hearing her students lack faith. It seems that I have to resort to that. Thought Scarlet as she then smirked. Issei-kun, can I call you that? Asked Scarlet politely. Issei nodded, causing Scarlet to approach him. Perhaps you should use your Ascalon if you desire to remain unscathed. Whispered Scarlet as she then leaped backwards and aimed gay bold at Issei. You are capable of defeating the gods themselves, no? Then you should easily be able to handle me and gay bold. Said Scarlet as she suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind Issei, whose eyes were widened as he narrowly dodged the blow from gay bold. Issei leaped to the sky and summoned Ascalon. Blade. Announced the boosted gear as the holy sword, Ascalon, had appeared to be fused with the sacred gear. As Issei landed, Scarlet immediately started clashing with Ascalon. The 2 legendary weapons clashed, the sounds echoing throughout the Land of the Dead. Scarlet was grinning the whole time, she was certainly enjoying this battle. Issei, however, was being held back. As Issei leaned backwards to dodge a swipe from Gaybolg, he smirked as he threw his left fist with Ascalon imbued into it at Scarlet. But instead of being shocked, she smirked. As Issei was about to hit her, she suddenly disappeared, much to Issei's shock. Scarlet suddenly reappeared in front of Issei and stepped on his left hand, causing him to lose balance and almost fall down. As Issei was about to get back up, he stopped immediately as a crimson spear was pointed at his throat. Okay, I lost, gave up Issei. Scarlet smiled at this and offered her hand to Issei, who gladly took it. Now, will you take my training more seriously now? Asked Scarlet curiously, though she was positive she had the answer. Fine, but I need to get my own spear first. Answered Issei with a pout. Then shall we go and visit your sister? Perhaps you can introduce me as well. I'm sure she would approve of our relationship. Suggested Scarlet, teasing Issei. The ultimate class devil blushed and looked away, but he soon agreed to bring his sensei to his household. The Hyoudou household. Issei and Scarlet had arrived in a magic circle, although it was pretty late at night, so Issei doubted there would be someone there to greet him and Scarlet. As the light died down, the duo exited the magic circle. Scarlet looked around the area. They were currently in a kitchen. Issei, however, yawned and headed straight for the couch. Home sweet home. Said Issei relieved as he lay down on the couch. You're rather comfortable, is everyone else asleep? Asked Scarlet curiously. Probably, so what do you say? Wanna sleep here for the night? Offered Issei cheekily. Scarlet smirked at her pupil's offer, he definitely was a cheeky one. Your strategy was flawless, Issei, I'm impressed. Complimented Scarlet as she approached Issei and lied down on the couch with him, hugging him in the process. What are yo? Issei was cut off as Scarlet put a finger on his mouth. SHHH, let's just rest, shall we, my beloved pupil? Suggested Scarlet with a loving smile. Issei blushed but eventually complied. Wow, this is definitely comfortable. Though Issei was quickly falling asleep, the same could be said for Scarlet. Both were rather comfortable with sleeping beside each other, and quite intimately too. Oh, how sweet, little Issei finally found his true lover. Teased Belzard, earning a smack from Elsha, who shut him up to allow Issei to rest. Issei, Hyoudou and Scarlet Lancer slept rather peacefully, however it was certain that peace would be disturbed once morning had arrived and the rest of Issei's peerage found a beautiful woman sleeping with their master in her hands. Thanks for watching this video. Part 4 is over. If you really enjoy this video, like, subscribe and comment down below and turn on that bell notification and also check out the playlist that I have created and enjoy. Link is in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.